Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on Destinations International Destination Organization Performance Reporting. We have Andreas Weissenborn, our Senior Director of Research and Advocacy, running this today. Hi, Andreas. How are you?
Hey, Kate. How are you doing? And hello, everyone on the webinar today.
Good, thank you. Before Andreas jumps in, just a few housekeeping notes. We are going to be recording this webinar and also monitoring any questions or comments. So if you notice in your GoToWebinar panel, there's a little section for you to enter that in. So we'll go ahead and open that up at the end. So Andreas, if you want to take it away for us.
Certainly, and thank you everyone for hopping on this webinar today. So today I'm really here to talk about our Destination Organization Performance Reporting platform. So I think I would start off with sort of what it is. So this sort of originated out of our previous study and survey, the it used to be DMAI, ICB, the Finance Operation and Profile Study. If you can remember, it was a survey that members would fill out. It was really sort of the biology of them. So what is the potential funding, publicly or privately, that they're receiving, and then how are they spending and allocating it. Before, destination organizations would have to, as members, would have to participate, and then they would then receive a discount or to the latter years get a complimentary to get the results. And then, excuse me, used to get a static PDF of just 5 or 6 operating budget ranges with the data just displayed down it across all the fields. So when I started part of Destinations International, we really wanted to look to sort of revamp it to, one, make it a little more dynamic, but also expand it beyond just simply inputs and outputs to actually get to performance. And that's really kind of one of the key things I want to start with. So if you did previously fill out our last round of collections for the OregonFin platform, all that data was pulled into the platform for this one. So if you come in for the first time from that previous platform, all your data will be there. So one of the things I mentioned from the previous one was you had to participate, and then you got access to the results. And then if you didn't, you'd have to pay for the results. Now we went away with any paid tier, and as long as you are a member and a destination organization, as soon as you participate, you get access to the results. So the platform will be always on, always live. It will be basically participatory every year. So every year, I'm hoping to add new questions, new metrics into it. And then destination organizations, once they complete whatever their financial year is, fiscal year calendar, they can come in and enter their data. That's really kind of what I wanted to start with, was just showing basically how the platform works in terms of entering your data. And then I really want to dive in deep as it relates to how the reporting works, the filters, and really what I think is the huge benefit of the platform, and that's getting to the nitty-gritty of the data itself. So it's broken down into 4 key sections: basic profile information about your particular destination organization, public funding, which we worked extensively with Civitas and John Lambeth and his team to revamp this section. Then it goes into finance related, so both private related revenue and then also expenses. And then finally, actually metrics that the destination organization performs, and then KPIs from that. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the profile side. I just want to kind of go into some of the new ones we added and how the overall gist of the survey and the platform works. So I'm going to hop into this first section. So the way it works is basically you will go in and then start participating, progressing through the survey to the various different sort of tabs and entry points. So this is where you put in information relating to your state of origin, your budget, staff size, member size, board allocation, that sort of stuff. I should mention that the survey is not had to be completed in one go. You can basically save and stop along the way. You're also able to add other staff members to participate in certain parts if you only or do one department and then want someone else to do another. I should point out a good starting point for anyone is clicking on this welcome message in the very top. One thing it does do is kind of give a good user guide for basic navigation, but it also provides you with this data collection worksheet. I'm going to pull it up real quick. So if you're the type of individual who likes to actually see all the questions at once, excuse me, you can do that. So it'll give you an Excel document. screen here. And show you all the questions in Excel across all the various tabs. Now, you can actually distribute this to your team and have them fill it out. Someone would still have to come back into the platform and put in the respective data. But it's a very easy way to see all the data at once and what you can fill out or what you can spread to your various departments. So you see there, it mirrors the same ones: profile information, public funding, finances, and then destination metrics. So again, this can be edited, shared with your team. Someone just still needs to come back into the platform to fill it out. A lot of times I found people with the best practices can work where they have one person who basically distributes and collects it, and then they're the sole person who comes back and puts it in, versus giving login access for various other people to do it. So the way it works is basically once you hit fill out the participating platform. I apologize, I'm at a conference right now, trying to find a little quiet space. Once you complete 100% of the platform, these two sections open up, which are basically the results and reporting section. And this is really where I think the true power of the platform comes into play. So the way the previous reports used to work was basically a static PDF document of all the destinations filled it out and the responses. It used to be probably 100+ pages long. And I used to have to go in there when I used to work for a bureau. I have to go in, hit Control F, find where the data point I'm looking for, and then write it down separately. This really allows you to kind of go through and aggregate based on a comp set that's relevant for you. So let's kind of do a quick example of that. So you can see here, one of the reports section, the filters, this allows you to kind of customize any of these respective filters, and all the data that comes here, all will then re-aggregate based upon these filters you set. So let's say you want to see a respective operating budget range or something that's similar to yourself. So you can say, okay, I want to look at, let's say, 15 million to 25 million. Got a T in there, not trillion, million. I'll click that. You can see I get access to region, state, assets. So if you're looking for convention center only, visitor center, parking facility, a bunch of other ones. I'm going to click done. And then you see the filter set, and then all the corresponding data below it will change. So I'll kind of go through briefly what these are. So this one right here, median industry data, I'm going to pull this up. So this is kind of considered the all report. So this is an Excel document broken down by the various different entry points, the various sections, I should say, with the aggregate data filled in. So it kind of explains the methodology here and the filters that applied, and then it goes into explaining the medians. And so for those who don't know, the median is not the average, it's not the mode, it's the exact 50% marker of all the data that's entered. This is very helpful for our industry because a lot of times if you tend to use average, you can have outliers that will skew the data. So if you get a, let's say, a very, very large destination organization who fills this out, who has a very, very high operating budget, it can skew the data up. This at least allows it to go right smack in the middle. So let's do kind of go through how that looks and how it works. So basically on this screen here, it sort of demos how many destination organizations who meet this filter criteria filled out this particular part of the platform. And then so the 25% quartile here, the high end 75th quartile, and then the median, so the 50th marker for it. So since this is basically all, move my screen here, Sam. Since this is all basically the profile information, it's just basically illustrating where people are. So in this case, the destination organizations who filled out the survey with a $15 million to $25 million operating budget, it's just saying, well, 38% of them, the median of them said they exist in the Southeast. If you're, again, let's do another example. Let's say how many of those destination organizations with that filter set have a convention center or conference center. It's saying 82% of them, or the median data set, have that. What this really comes in handy is really when you start looking at the finance related stuff. So let's hop over to the public finance section. So pretty common question I get a lot of times is, I want to try to find the median amount that destination organizations are receiving from occupancy-related taxes from my city. So the way it works is you look at this particular field here. So this is basically city, county, state, and then we go into TIDs and other ones as it relates to it. So I should point out that in order to show up on the data itself, at least 5 destination organizations had to have filled out the survey and met the criteria of the filter set. If they're not present there, that means that it's either less than 5 that didn't do it or none at all. So I would explain why you see some blanks for some that you don't. So let's take how to read this particular example here. So this is basically saying for destination organizations who are in the operating budget of 15 to 25 million, that the median value that they receive, that their destination receives in terms of city occupancy related taxes is 67 million. The 75% or the very high end is 88 million, and the 25 percentile, the lower end is 29 million. I should specify this is the entire destination itself, so not necessarily what's allocated towards the destination organization, but simply what is the entire city correspondingly receiving. So we do also track allocations. So as you actually scroll down this particular finance related ones, we go into other various public money. So grants, short-term rentals, car rentals, food and beverage taxes, and things like that. But as you scroll down, then we actually get into how are those corresponding funds allocated. So that same example, the city one, this is where I actually show, okay, for destinations again who have a $15 million to $25 million operating budget range, what percentage of them, what was their response to the median values as how much their destination organization is receiving? In this case, it's saying 22% is the median value. So that means 22% of that total collection from the destination organization on the city level is going allocated towards a destination organization. This actually does summarize towards the bottom all the various occupancy related ones together. So again, we have quite a bit here: TIDs, food and beverage, car rentals, public grants. But then we actually kind of go through and look at what is actually then total allocation. So if you wanted to know, well, how much total occupancy dollars are going to a destination organization specifically in my operating budget range, here's where it would be. It actually shows a summary of all the occupancy related ones. And that's kind of the gist of how you understand and read the reports, this particular type of reports through the entire platform. And again, this is really the all report. This is every data point here. But a lot of times this necessarily isn't needed, meaning you don't need this large level of data. You might be looking for a singular data point only. And the platform allows you to do that. So let's say you actually wanted to know, let's say a breakdown of various member types and budget types for your particular destination organization. So you can hop to the section over here that says results by question. So I'm going to hop over to this particular members question here. And you'll notice it keeps the same filter set here, but now allows you to go into the singular data point itself. So again, I just have some test data filled in here. It's not valid data, but it still shows the point itself. So let's say I wanted to know, okay, for destination organizations who have an operating budget of 15 to 25 million, what is the median amount of new, paying members that they have? And so you can actually hop down to the question and it gives you just that singular data point. So in this case, it's saying 805 is the median amount of members, dues paying members that destination organizations who filled out the survey with this operating budget range. One thing I think people often miss about this particular section is that it shows everything on one page, but you can actually pinpoint out that singular data point as its own graph. So if you fill out the platform, it will show you where your point is, and then show you the percentiles here, and then of course show you the various filters. And from there, you can actually then make this a singular PDF for distribution, or also a PowerPoint. I think the PowerPoint is very, very useful because it nicely kind of demos it. So if you are in a situation where you need to present to a board, present to some of your stakeholders, this basically puts everything very nicely for you. So again, shows you the particular question, the filters used, and then again, the graph itself. And then of course, you have the capability of editing these all together, so you can make your own presentation format through all of it. And again, it quickly hops through each particular question in this particular section. And again, this really allows you, if you are just hunting for a singular data point, this is really a good way to do it. Because I know for a lot of people, I'm very comfortable in Excel and liking seeing all the data, but I'm a research data guy, so that's kind of my forte. It's not for everyone. Now, I did want to kind of showcase and show how dynamic the platform and the filters work. So I want to concentrate on this value here. So this says 805, and this is for operating budget range of 15 to 25 million. So let's say I actually want to look at full-time employee size. So I'm going to clear the filter out, and I'm going to say I want to look, well, what is that same value for destination organizations who have between, let's say, 10 and, I'll do a big number here. Let's do 35 full-time employees. I'm going to set it. And you can see now the data change, dynamically changes to the filter set. So again, now it's saying that median value is 385. I think it's important to show because I think it's important to start looking at what you define your comp set as something more than just operating budget. A good standard really is looking at operating budget, full-time employee size, and region, but then also taking into effect assets, nonprofit status, if you're a division team, things like that, and really looking at all those various variables to actually give a good aggregate for what a value is. You can very quickly see if you just do a singular data point or a single lens, that you're only getting half the picture. It's really important to kind of mix and match and play with all the filters. Now, again, you can actually combine filters. So let's say we wanted to do 10 to 35 full-time employees, but I also wanted to add in operating structures, operating budget range as well. So let's say I'm going to do again from, I'll do 10 million to sorry, my Wi-Fi is just a little bit slow here. Oops, not that many people. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to refresh my page on the Wi-Fi. Just a little bit slow. It's not dynamically changing the filter as fast as I'd like it. Oh, sorry about that. Wi-Fi is just a little bit slow at this conference I'm at right now. Oh, there it goes. There we go. Okay. So one of the sections I really wanted to pop into to really focus on why we renamed it the Destination Organization Performance Reporting is because we actually finally added performance metrics to here. So every instance of this report and platform before it was all simply about just your respective profile and your corresponding public dollars and private dollars and how you allocate them. We never actually asked the question of what are you actually doing in terms of performance, meaning what are you actually doing in terms of visitors, leads, spending, actually performance metric, and then benchmarking yourself against one another. So this is really the brand new section that we've added to the platform. I'm going to clear out the filters here. And so one thing that my research group did that was for 2019 was we actually went them through our old standard performance reporting handbook and pull out what are metrics that every corresponding destination organization should be looking at, meaning what are some very simple base level ones that everyone should be considered adding to it. Now, granted, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of metrics that destination organizations use every day. The goal was with this was a sort of a starting point of sort of a base level trends of where just some base level ones most people can participate in, but the goal is every year to keep adding more and more and more and more and more metrics into it. Which it's sort of exciting because now we can actually see, and we'll not just compare ourselves to monetary, how much are we receiving and spending, but then how are we actually doing in performance, and then overlay it with performance data. So clear out my last filter here and kind of go through how some of these work. So you can see here, for example, the median value of annual visitors is 8.1 million. So you can actually see then, okay, total visitors that we're receiving, where do we fall on this? Again, I put in some base level data for visitors and that kind of stuff. And you can see in the blue, it actually shows where do I fall in this. I think it's a kind of important point to point out because a lot of times you can then see, well, how do you perform against maybe someone with a bigger operating budget range? I think we sometimes hear criticism saying, you know, if you have a higher operating budget, higher marketing budget, you know, you can perform more. This sort of allows you to kind of weigh to see if you can actually punch above your weight class. So your respective operating budget, it means you're actually performing, and a destination organization might have a higher operating budget itself. Again, this is one of the brand new sections we're added to it. And the hope is every year I'm going to keep adding more and more and more because I keep hearing from more and more members different metrics that they are looking for and wanting to do. I should mention for definitions for all these came directly out of the Center Performance Reporting Handbook. And each one of them, we do have a little handy read more that kind of does give the definition that came out from it. So one other thing, kind of key thing I want to showcase about the platform is a lot of people just simply want to know, well, how do I see everyone's particular report? Meaning, how do I see what every individual filled out? And so there is a report in here that does look similar to the old pre-2015 Oregon Fin report. And there's two that I want to showcase. One is the individual responses, and then the other one is the median industry data by budget segments. So the individual ones is basically the full disaggregate set of data, meaning every individual who filled it out based upon the filters you set and what they filled it out as. So just caution, this is a very, very large Excel document. And then I'm just going to hop to a section real quick. And then it shows the destination name here, and then what the corresponding values were with it. So if you start slicing down the filters, then the corresponding members that rate to it filter in here. So when you leave no filters there, it just gives you every bit of data in there, which can be very, very overwhelming. So very left to right, it does go alphanumerically. A little shortcut in Excel, if you want to find a destination quickly, you can always hit Control F, and you can type in a name of one, and it will show you every instance of it in the Excel document where it can be. But again, the general idea what I would recommend is going through and actually playing with the filters and slicing down to it. So the other one I would recommend and make sure I was aware of is that we have one that does sort of resemble the previous Oregon Fin kind of classic report, where it puts all the data in these static operating budget ranges. So I did illustrate, like I said, this one is non-filterable. So regardless of what you set here, this report will always look exactly the same every time. And then will display by the static operating budget ranges. Again, this is a very, very large report. It takes a little bit to download. One thing I should point out, these are Excel documents and PowerPoint documents, which can be printed. Can be very sometimes data intensive, so sometimes they can be not the best to view in a physical format. But I did provide some settings if you did want to print it. These are sort of the optimal printing guidelines if you wanted to print them out. So This is now that static operating budget range one. So what it does is it takes all the data, aggregates by the median, and then makes them in these operating budget ranges. So the previous Oregon Fin report used to do 5 ranges. This does it 8. So basically, this is a operating budget range of $500,000 to less, $500,000 to 1.5, 1.5 to 3, 3 to 5, and then goes all the way up to 30 to 50. If a destination organization who has higher than 50 million operating budget range is in here, it will add another column that does 50 million and up. So 100 million, 200 million, etc. And basically, this is all the data for all the questions based on these operating budget ranges. So you can kind of quickly view at a glance, you know, what is the value that someone might be an operating budget range below us, and then what is it corresponding behind us. Again, I think it's handy to have if people are used to the older format. This report sort of does provide that to it. One thing I should point out, since you are seeing dollar values in here, the platform does have a currency converter. So if you are a destination, Canada, anywhere, it does have a currency converter built in where you can put in your values in your native currency, and it will translate it into US dollar. Now, it doesn't currency convert on the way out. So the values you see are the corresponding US dollar values. One sort of quick workaround I've seen destinations do who are not of US currency is they'll typically add a column or two to the Excel document and add their exchange rate value next to it. So they can quickly times what it is by their corresponding exchange rate. So again, one thing I want to point out, again, the platform is always on. So that's why it says year all data. There is no hard deadline to participate in it. It will be looked at on a yearly basis. So as we add new questions once a year, you will need to come in and then update where accordingly. So if you, let's say, haven't done anything yet, haven't did Oregon Fin anything previously to it, when you're coming in, you're brand new and fresh. You will these sections will be grayed out, and then as you progress through it and hit 100%, these will come access to you. Let's say you participated in Oregon Fin years prior. You might come in and see that most of the platform might be correspondingly filled out for you. Maybe you have another 25% to go. You can actually then just update where accordingly and fill out the rest, so then get access to the results. Again, we really want this to be seen as it is a true member benefit, that you get access to all this data, all this reporting, by simply just being a member and participating. I get numerous questions throughout my time at Destination National by asking for similar data that I'm just pulling myself out of the platform, that you all have access to this. So we really, purposes of today and going forward, is to try to spread the word that this is for you as members, and to help hopefully make educated decision-making process and strategy revolving around this data. With that, I'll turn you back over to you, Kate, if any questions from the audience or any particular things you want to drill down further into the platform, I'm happy to answer today.
Great, thanks, Andreas. I think this is so helpful, and it's really exciting that this is available year-round now, and everyone can go in and just jump right in. I think you did answer one of the questions regarding the best practices for printing. So can you just remind us where exactly that sits on here?
Absolutely. So on any of the big reports on the reports page, I have something here that says settings for optimal printing. So these basically it gives them the settings in Excel to how best to print them. Like I said, I won't lie, these can be very, very big reports. And so trying to cram them in a singular 8.5 by 11, you're gonna be not gonna have a good time in trying to read it. So again, these are designed as workbooks. And so each corresponding workbook has a worksheet. So when you go to print, you do file, print. There's no printer here. I'll just do enable. And then you would change the paper settings, and then sorry, there's no printers in the hotel, but you would change the printer settings and the optimal viewpoint. There we go. Based upon these here. So Typically what I've recommended people to do is, sometimes it's not worth to really print out the entire thing. Just pinpoint out the singular point, data point that you want. So for example, in Excel, you can actually do a print area. So let's say I just wanted this. I can actually highlight what I need. And then actually page layout, yep, print area. And you can do set print area. And then it will just focus on this particular one. But you can see, like I said, some of these can be 100+ rows and columns deep. So not always the easiest to do a splint. But again, if you want to know the optimal settings to print it, I have, for the larger ones here, have what they are.
Do you have any best practices for the input pages, Andreas, for sizing those?
You mean the actual entering the data port?
Yes.
Sure. So if you wanted to print those out, I would probably recommend instead is download the data collection worksheet. These then will allow you to, same thing, to print out, if you wanted to, worksheet by worksheet, all the individual questions. I believe these follow the same format. So if you wanted to, it's, let me see here for a second. It is not 8.5 by 11, but legal size, landscape, and then scale it to 70%. Is typically probably the easiest way to do it. Just make sure when you do go to print it out, you want to make sure that, set it to edit again. You do want to make sure that by default in Excel, sorry, there's no printers, there we go. It says only active sheets. So you can see here kind of what it looks like. You want to make sure that you do entire workbook, meaning, so it's broken down into 4 different worksheets. You just want to make sure that it prints out everything as part of it.
Perfect.
So you can kind of see it right there. Most printers do a pretty good job with it, but sometimes you do, like I said, the optimal, you have to kind of look through and say, okay, this is something that has to be on legal or tabloid size, and then change down some of the margins and whatnot to fit it best on it. But really, it is designed, as I said, it is designed as a web-based platform. So the best experience you can get would be maintaining it online. But I understand a lot of people do like to print it out and have it physically in front of them. So trying to find the best ways to accommodate that for that. And if you did know too, besides that, in Excel, it has the option to print as a PDF. So you can always, in Excel as well, convert the Excel document to a PDF, and then it'll give you a locked PDF for you for the results.
We have another question, Andreas. What's the cutoff on running a regional report participation count?
There is no cutoff. So as long as
it looks like someone, Ian, is asking and making a comment that sometimes you can't produce a report with less than 25 participants.
Yes. So there's no cutoff. I should say the way the platform works is you have to have at least 5 destination organizations meet the criteria. So for example, if you get probably hyper specific, the platform will sort of not produce an error, but say not enough destination organizations meet this criteria, meaning less than 5. That's kind of the purpose of today, is to keep spreading the word. We want more and more members to fill us out to make the platform better for all to do it. So, and then just kind of give an example of what that looks like. So let's say I was only looking at Canada and only ones that have a conference center, and let's just say city only. I want the platform to give an error here, or to show the indication. So again, if you get too specific into a region, oh, actually never mind, I apologize. It will give an error here. It says not enough members for that. So that exact number is 5. We want that to actually be able to show a filter set. And if that happens, really what I recommend doing is to start big again and start whittling down and playing with it. So maybe I'll remove, let's say I'll remove the Canadian filter, or I'll go reverse. I'll remove the city and conference and only look at Canada to see what kind of gives the best results to it. So yeah, really, like I said, it's the fundamental thing about the platform is it needs data, right? So the more members that fill it out from different operating budget and region sizes, the better and more dynamic and the more drilled down the comp sets you can make.
Do we have a breakdown right now by Canadians by region?
Yes, so I should specify region right now is only, right now is just country as in Canada. We unfortunately haven't had more than 10 destination organizations in Canada fill it out. I'm excited for more to start participating and changing with it so I can start adding more and more regions to it. But right now it's basically broken down by that, but then we do have the provinces though in here. So we're hoping to continue to add more and more to that as more countries participate and fill it out.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through. I'm sure as everyone dives into this and starts playing with it a little bit more, more questions will pop up. What's the fastest way, Andreas, for them to submit those? Do you want us to do a catch-all email, or how do you want to receive those?
Oh, certainly. So the best way to get a hold of myself and team who both work on this project is our research@destinationsinternational.org. It's a shared mailbox that me and other members of my team who work on answering questions for this. I'm also can always be reached directly for it. I do a lot of time spent about how to best understand the data. If you have questions about best practices for the filters or just want to better understand the data going into it, what does it mean? Always happy to answer questions for it. But the quickest way to get a hold of us would be at the research inbox. So that way it's always monitored and we can help best answer it as quickly as possible for you.
Perfect. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Andreas, for good job navigating through being in the middle of the conference. I think your sound was pretty spot on and just a great overview of this dynamic program, and I hope that everyone will jump in and circle back with your questions. We'll be sending out this recording and looking forward to getting more input from you all soon. So thank you so much, Andreas. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you, everyone, for attending.
Have a good day. Take care.